What's going on, everybody? My name is Monotooi, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm very excited to bring you guys Week 1 of the PPL Division 2 Season 2 versus PaullyMac, coach of the Thunderbolton Wanderers. His channel and Twitter links will be in the description below, so please check him out. He's relatively new to YouTube, did a couple interviews last season, and now he did a couple interviews for last season. He replaced Layson when Layson unfortunately had to drop out, and now he is back and as a full-time coach. So we are going to hopefully going to happily welcome him with an ass pounding. So as you can see, I'm not going to go over my team too in depth because I did have the whole team build dedicated to that, but I do have my Ferrothorn, Jellicent, Zapdos, Nidoqueen, Whimsicott, and Megalopunny, whereas Paul brought his Hydreigon, Donphan, Manaphy, Tangrowth, Pinsir, and Lucario, Mega Pinsir that is. So, first thing that I'm thinking is he doesn't have Gardevoir, meaning that Megalopunny is actually looking pretty good for his team if I can wear his team down enough. It can OHKO the Lucario, can OHKO the Hydreigon, 2 KOs the Manaphy as well as the Pinsir, so his only real switch-in would potentially be Tangrowth, which again, like I said, I would be able to 2 KO if I got my Rocks and Spikes up. So, without going too much into further detail about team matchup, I am going to just start the game, and you guys will get to see what happens from there. So, here we go. There he is, Paul, issuing the challenge. His first battle with his new team. Good job, Paul. It's all of our first battles with our new team, but this is the first team that I think he's ever built that he's used a match, unless he was doing like GCL or whatever that match is. Anyway, I'm going to lead with my Ferrothorn, trying to get my Rocks up. He leads with Lucario, and although I am Eevee to take a Jolly Life Orb close combat if I need to, I don't need to, and I don't want to, so I am just going to hard switch out into my Zapdos, which is physically defensive, which will be able to take this close combat relatively easily. As you can see, it doesn't do too much damage, again it is resisted, and I am physically defensive, so that's pretty cool. He is forced to switch out. I didn't see a Life Orb, by the way, so I'm suspecting maybe Scarf, potentially Sash. But anyway, I'm going to go for the Toxic, predicting either this Hydreigon to come in, or potentially the Donphan to come in, but trying to absorb a Volt Switch. But I do go for the Toxic, which is nice, because this Hydreigon is going to be a pain in the ass, especially if it's offensive. I'm going to have a hard time switching into it. If it's Life Orb, it'll be nice to wear that down even faster, but because the Zapdos is physically defensive, not specially defensive, I do want to switch out. I can potentially take a Draco Meteor, but I don't want to, so I am going to hard switch out into my Whimsicott, as you guys will see in a second. He does make the prediction and does go for the Flamethrower. However, with the Aqua Berry, this Flamethrower will do very, very little to my Whimsicott. I could have taken it without the Aqua Berry, but with the Aqua Berry, I will be able to take an HP Fire from Manaphy later on if I need to. So this is a very good thing for me. I'm happy that the Aqua Berry did work out. As you're going to see, he actually reveals leftovers on his Hydreigon, which has me thinking he may be either like a sub-variant or maybe a bulky variant. You'll see a little bit later. Here I don't over-predict or anything, I just go for the Moonblast. I want to see what item his Tangrowth is, whether it's Assault Vest or Leftovers, or physically defensive, specially defensive, and from this damage, I can pretty much figure out that he is more than likely Assault Vest. I'm not entirely sure of the spread, like mainly specially defensive Assault Vest, but not a huge deal. Here, I predict him to either go for like a Sludge Bomb, or maybe an HP Fire, but he actually goes for the knockoff and knocks off my Nidoqueen's Life Orb, which is kind of unfortunate though. It still deals massive damage to his team, so it's not a super big concern. Here he's going to pull a very nice offensive switch out into Lucario on the Sludge Wave. However, and I'm going to pause it right here, and 1 second, I live, and I will be able to knock him out with the Earth Power. Now, I talked to Paul after the match. He calced an Ice Punch versus a Nidoking, which would have killed me at that point, but Nidoqueen, having its little bit of extra bulk, would not have gone down, and clearly did not go down. So that was a miscalc on his part, which was unfortunate, but regardless, I am going to be able to knock out the Lucario, which is very important. I also found out later on that Lucario was actually scarfed with Inner Focus to deal with my Megalopunny, which was pretty clever. I wasn't going to click Fake Out on it because of Inner Focus, but still very good prep on his part. Now at this point, his Pinsir is going to come in to try and revenge kill me, but I kind of want to save my Nidoqueen at this point, so I am going to hard switch out into my Zapdos, which is built to take this thing on relatively well. And so as you guys are going to see here, he is going to Mega Evolve and just go right for the, as we'll see in a second, return. which does deal still a very nice chunk of damage to my Zapdos because this is a Mega Pinsir. And I actually have to double check the IVs on my Zapdos because I'm going to pause it real quick also. If you notice earlier, his Hydreigon outsped my Zapdos. Now, that is a bulky Hydreigon with no speed investment, and he outsped my Zapdos, which had 8 speed EVs, so I had 0 speed IVs. The person who gendered for me, unfortunately, misgendered. See you later, it doesn't matter too much, but I have to actually go back in my DS and check if I had any defensive IVs as well, because I feel like that did way too much. But anyway, besides the point, we're going to continue. Here, I make a good double out, predicting him to have the Stone Edge to hit my Zapdos specifically. I'm going to go right out into my Ferrothorn, which does take the Stone Edge very, very nicely. And this is good for me because I will be able to get up my Stealth Rocks. I don't think he's going to stay in. If he has the close combat, he will not knock me out, and I could potentially hit him with a Gyro Ball, paralyze him, things like that. So he's going to go out into pretty much a hard counter, being Tangrowth, but again, I am going to just get my Stealth Rocks up, which will hopefully be there to stay, because his only hazard removal is the Donphan with Rapid Spin, and I do have my Jellicent to block it. So here, I'm going to go out into my Zapdos, predicting either a Focus Blast or an HP Fire. I can take either of those, and I can roost up on this thing. He does reveal the Focus Blast. He does connect, but as you guys will see here, it doesn't do all that much damage. Zapdos is very bulky, and it is able to take that resisted hit very well. Now, at this point, I could have gone for a Heat Wave or a Toxic, but I wanted to keep the Zapdos healthy so that I can switch into the Pinsir later on, so I am just going to go for the Roost here. He decides he wants to get rid of my leftovers, so he just goes for the knockoff, which is a fine play on his part. This means that I will guaranteed be 2 KO'd by Stone Edge from the Pinsir, because with leftovers it was a roll, without leftovers he is guaranteed to 2 KO. So at this point, I do just go for the Heat Wave, not going to go for Volt Switch yet because I don't want that Donphan coming in. So I do go for the Heat Wave, and this damage right here, that Heat Wave does absolutely nothing, so at this point I'm 100% certain that this is a specially defensive Hydreigon, which he actually built to take on my Zapdos in case I was an offensive Zapdos, also could kind of deal with the defensive Zapdos. He didn't expect me to have Toxic on my Zapdos, but it was a decent set to switch into it. At this point, I know because he's defensive I can take any hit, being Dragon Pulse, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, etc., so I am actually just going to go for the Roost here. I will be able to actually deal with this thing 1v1 because Zapdos just is that bulky. With the recover, I have recovery. He is poisoned. Even if he does have the Roost, the toxic damage will continue to rack up. So I will be able to stall this thing out. Now, as we can see here, Dark Pulse does about 40 to 45%. So again, I could stay in and continue to Roost, but I don't want to risk the flinch. So after this turn plays out, I am going to switch out. Also at this point he is getting relatively low, so I feel like he is either forced to Roost here or potentially switch out. And I don't think he's going to go for Flamethrower on my Zapdos, so I am going to go back out into my Whimsicott, as I am able to, after the Shiny animation goes off, as I am able to catch him on the Roost. Which is good, because even though this Hydreigon is specially defensive, after the Toxic damage there's no way he's going to live a Moonblast. Which is good, because this Hydreigon, like I said, is pretty annoying. And being able to get rid of it would be very, very nice. However, I know he's going to want to save this. Hydreigon does do a little bit of work on my team, does help against the Zapdos a bit, just switching into it. So I'm going to pull a double out into my Nidoqueen, predicting him to want to go out into the Tangrowth to switch into my Whimsicott. And as you can see here, that is exactly what he does. And here I make a little bit of a... No, I don't make a misplay yet. So here... he's going to take the Rocks damage. I just go for the safe Sludge Wave. There's nothing really that should appreciate it at all. The Donphan is going to come in, and Shiny Donphan. A lot of Shinies to smash. Paul and I are competitive Shiny Hunters, of course, but anyway, I am going to go for the Sludge Wave, and this damage here kind of reveals that he has Assault Vest. Even though my Life Orb was knocked off, that didn't do that much damage at all. Donphan's special defense is not great. And he doesn't have leftovers, so I'm kind of thinking he is Assault Vest. See here, I'm going to go out into my Jellicent to potentially block a spin, as he pulls a pretty good switch into his Manaphy, I believe, predicting this. Now, I'm also going to pause it here real quick. As you can see, I go out into my family, the Ferrothorn. Now, I thought that there was no way in hell he would go for a Tail Glow, because I still have my Whimsicott that can switch in and go for Encore, locking it into that. If that happens, then once again he's kind of stuck in a bad position. I can get a free switch out into my Ferrothorn, set up rocks afterwards, things like that, so I really didn't expect him to do that. Also, Ferrothorn is my safest switch because no matter what he goes for, I can take it. If he goes for an Ice Beam predicting that Whimsicott, then I'm good. If he goes for an HV Fire, I do have the Huckleberry. If he goes for Scald, I can take it easily. Even if I get burned, it's not a huge deal. So I go out into this knowing that I can take any hit and not expecting him to go for Tail Glow, but as you guys can see, he actually does go for the Tail Glow, which is a bit of a problem, but I can deal with it. I am familiar with Manaphy, I know how it works. I also know how to beat it at this point. So the Huckleberry does pop, and as you can see, I live with a little bit of HP, and I am able to get off the Thunder Wave on the Manaphy, slowing it down, and potentially getting some Parahacks going my way, but mainly just to slow it down. So I use this opportunity. I could have Power Whipped it to get damage off and not have to sack my Whimsicott afterwards, but I just go for my spikes, like I said, guarantee it to a KO on the Tangrowth with high jump kick for my Lopunny, so that is going to play out how it did, and I'm just going to sack my Ferrothorn to the Scald. Ferrothorn did its job beautifully, got up rocks, spikes, and paralyzed this thing. Next, I'm going to go out into Whimsicott. I know it can live a Giga Drain because I am not Life Orb, and Manaphy is relatively bulky, and Whimsicott is relatively weak. But I do need to get damage on this thing. I have nothing that can OHKO it. Zapdos can OHKO it, especially without seeing an item. I'm kind of afraid it's Lacan Berry, so that it can take a hit from my Zapdos and knock it out with a +3 Ice Beam, but so that's why I didn't go Zapdos. So instead I'm going to go Whimsicott, get off the Giga Drain, die to the +3 Hidden Power Fire, and then I can just go out into my my Lega Lopunny, my Mega Lopunny, and just click Return. I have no need to click Fake Out. I am guaranteed to outspeed this thing. It's not in range of Custat Berry if it was like a random Custat set, so I do just click Return, and the Manaphy is going to go down, which is kind of sad having to murder an innocent Manaphy, but had to be done, unfortunately. So rest in peace, Manaphy, you will be missed, but now it's time to move on. So he's going to go out into his Tangrowth, and even though I can 2 KO this with the high jump kick, I don't want any damage on my Lopunny so that I can potentially take a quick attack from the Mega Pinsir. Also, he has revealed Focus Blast, which would hurt a lot. It's kind of dangerous to leave my Lopunny in. I can miss high jump kick, a lot of things can happen, so I am going to go out into my Nidoqueen, as he actually goes for Sludge Bomb, predicting my Whimsicott, which is good for me because I get to fire off another hit. I went for the Ice Beam. I probably should have gone for the Sludge Bomb because Sludge Wave plus Ice Beam would have knocked out the Donphan, but I just decided to go for Ice Beam. Not a huge deal because, again, I can just go out into my Mega Lopunny once again, and he does not have a switch into this. Everything on his team is 2 KO'd by Return at this point. So I am going to go for that Return, and he is going to basically be forced to sack off his Tangrowth as he does, and that noodly piece of garbage is dead, which is awesome. So now he's going to go out into his Donphan, and because this is actually an Assault Vest set, I actually had a pretty decent chance to knock it out with the Adamant High Jump Kick at this point, but I didn't want to risk it. Like I said, I don't want any damage on my Lopunny, so I am going to switch out into my Jellicent, blocking a potential spin, as well as being able to take any hit from this thing, as he does go for the Earthquake, which deals a decent amount of damage, but it's fine. Here, I predict him to go out into Hydreigon to take a Scald, but he does not. He instead just stays in, and he goes for the knockoff, which is fine, because with the Colbur Berry, I am able to take it very well. And at this point, I realize it's totally fine if I can just click Scald here. Even if he does bring in Hydreigon at this point, Donphan goes down to Fake Out plus Return, so there's absolutely no reason for me to not click Scald. So Donphan goes down, and at this point, he's going to send in his Hydreigon, which is totally fine for me. He has absolutely... well, I have no reason to save this thing, so I do just sack it off to the Dark Pulse, which is totally fine because I can come in with my Mega Lopunny and Revenge Kill this thing. Even though he is a specially defensive variant, he's probably got max HP, he will definitely go down to a High Jump Kick, and just to make sure that I don't miss my High Jump Kick, I'm going to go for the Fake Out followed by a Return. It's a relatively simple way to do it. If he switches out into Pinsir, then I'm guaranteed to win with Mega Lopunny because I then hard switch out into my Zapdos, force him to basically make a prediction, hopefully go for Stone Edge, but then I click Volt Switch. If he switches out, he's taking more Rocks damage on the switch in later on, and my Lopunny will easily be able to knock it out with a Fake Out or even a Quick Attack. So here, I am going to finish off the Hydreigon here, just go for the Return, able to easily knock it out, and now he is going to go back out into his Mega Pinsir, and at this point, I win 100%. He thought his only chance to win would have been if he, his only chance to win is if I make a stupid play and hard switch out into my Zapdos, and he's able to 2-hit KO me with Stone Edge. So I believe that is what he went for there, either that or a return. But I'm not going to do that. My best play is just to stay in and click return. There's a very good chance of me living a quick attack, even if he's adamant, because I do have a decent amount of HP on this. If he's jolly, it's almost guaranteed. So I am just going to stay in, as he does go for the Stone Edge, I believe, and I go for the return, easily knocking out the Pinsir, and that is going to be a good game to Paul, and we start off our season 1-0 with a +2 differential. So that was a very good battle. It was relatively straightforward throughout that match. I feel like I planned very well for it. All three of my attack resist berries worked out favorably. The Akaberry on Whimsicott, the Akaberry on Ferrothorn, the Colberberry on Jellicent, all of them worked out beautifully. Even with the less than ideal IVs on my Zapdos, it didn't really form a problem too much because it would have been able to wall most of his team anyway. And Mega Lopunny starting off the season with 4 kills, which is really cool. I'm really glad to see Mega Lopunny work. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say for this match. Thank you guys very much for watching. Next week we go up against JuancitoMarvel, coach of the Amityville Haunters, which is going to be very exciting. I'll have a team building video up for that on Tuesday, next Tuesday that is. So again, thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day everyone. Let's go Luxrays.